So, alright guys, what's going on? If you've seen our last video, we got the old Blazer out there on the rocks, and it actually did pretty darn good considering I put these G-made shocks on there, and actually it was supposed to be in the beginning of that video, but it was long enough video, so I edited it all out. But anyway, I set up these G-made shocks. They're sort of like a Desert Lizard style with the internal spring. But I took out the springs that were in there, and I put in these super weak springs out of something else. And it turned out it's basically like having no shocks on the back. The front, I noticed that the steering link kind of hits one of the links, and it won't allow it to come down as far as it's supposed to in the front. And I also left one of the smaller bottom springs in there. So what I'm about to do now real quick is change. I'm going to go ahead and probably put the stock springs back in there. They'll probably work way better. I was just assuming I'd like these lighter springs, but I think with this heavy truck, the stock ones is still going to be what I'm looking for. So anyway, also, is anybody here diabetic that's watching this? Just curious if you've ever tried this G7, whatever it's called. You put that right on your arm or your back, and it sends you the Bluetooth signal to your phone or Wi-Fi or whatever, or to this little digital phone looking meter to tell you what your blood sugar is and all that without poking yourself over and over. I'm not diabetic, but we take care of my wife's brother. He's handicapped and diabetic, and we just got that one for him today. We're going to be putting that on him in the morning. He's had one like it before, so we know what they're about. But anyway, the last one he had, the doctors would read when he would get to the hospital, I think. It wasn't, you didn't get to do it yourself. That one's pretty cool. Anyway, back on topic. Just wondering what y'all's thoughts are. If you do have experience with it, let me know. All the info we can get on stuff like that's appreciated. Now then, here's the springs I took out of these shocks that we're going to take off here. And they're pretty good. They're soft, actually. So I should just put them right back in there. And that's what we're going to do real fast. I wanted the tall boys off there. Y'all know that it used to be lifted. We had the Trax's high trail shocks. I took off the high trail and put them on there. But they're just a little bit abused, you know. So let's go ahead and flip this baby over. Alright, we're going to show you the springs I got in there now. The way we're going to do them, we're only going to take the bottom half off, obviously. I'm not going to mess with that top screw or nothing. But see, these springs that I put in these little old things are tiny. They're not nowhere near for this. Actually, I think that these little tiny springs were actually the spare springs to these 70 millimeter RC four-wheel drive shocks, internal spring. And if so, I think I might swap these as well when I get this truck back on, because it's actually really springy. I put the stiffer one in because it was going to be a hard body. I think we're going to go ahead and run it on a full droop setup later too. I just have a lot more luck with the full droop sometimes. I mean, as far as I'm not wanting to tip over on every corner, stuff like that. So now, what we got to do to make it back what it was, these are the regular old stock shock, or springs. So no problem there. We're going to put it back in there. Now these are short on oil, so what I'm going to have to do is take some out of these old shocks as I'm out, and go ahead and top all these off as well. To make sure I get the same consistent oil, I don't know what we got. We're going to take the oil out of every one of those and dump it into something so it's all mixed together, and then use it to individually fill these back up because they're all low. And I have noticed 3 of these have not leaked since I put them on yesterday, but this one has. So I'm going to go ahead and see if I can address that while we're at it. Maybe I'll get lucky. I don't really have no kind of parts for these. These are like a G-made, I don't know what they're, G transitions or something like that. I think they were stock to this rig, which is a G-made chassis. They're 90 millimeter. So now, I'm debating because the front already has these already on the bottom half. And that's how I run my Desert Lizard shocks, and I do like that setup. So I think we're going to go back to it. Put them shorter springs right here above the plunger. Below it, whatever you want to call that. So we're going to do that as well. All right, I think we're going to be able to fix the leak here. What I got, this is the old O-ring here. It's all stretched out and worn out. I got these green ones. These are actually off the Desert Lizard kit. And it actually fit right in here perfect, which this little top was popped off. Sorry, it's not going to focus. This little top was popped off of here and it wouldn't go back on with the old one. So I put one of these green ones in there and it should fit right on that shaft. We're going to find out in just a second, but if so, when I open every one of these, I'm going to go ahead and replace them with the green ones. Which would probably be stupid because right now I got 3 that don't leak, 1 that did, and I guarantee I'll probably end up with 4 that leak or something. So we're going to try it anyway. Well, like I was thinking, that's going to work perfect. It moves really nice and smooth, but yet it's way firmer than it was with the old plunger there. It's actually really got a good seal, it seems like, which is what we want. So now I had to drain all the oil out my old shocks, and look at how nasty that is. But we still got to use it. You got to have some. So I've already put some in this one. We're not actually going to be able to fill them to the top, but we definitely got more oil than it had in there, which is what we want. As long as we keep them all even, we'll be able to work with it and tell how we got to do to adjust them. So let me snug that up, and I think that's going to keep it from leaking. And we're going to go ahead and put them all like that after I do the back. Ooh, excuse me. Once I get the back done, we'll see how she looks. I want to say one more thing. I've had some cheap Amazon shocks that were kind of like these, and I could not get them tuned very well. These ones, just from the touch and feel of them being right here, they actually feel like they're close on the level with them Desert Lizard shocks. I mean, they might not be as good, but they feel really good. Slow, smooth, got good rebound. I think we're going to like them if we get them tuned right. It should be pretty good. I'll tell you what, I may have had a set of good shocks just sitting in my bag for a long time. Again, you tune them up right and you get some great behavior out of them. That's what I like, that slow movement. So again, once the truck's on, it's gonna be a little different, but I think it's gonna be okay. Let me get this thing flipped around, set it on the ground, see if I like the way the back of it sits now. So all right, I got them shocks all done up and I think they're gonna work great. And then I finally figured out, I really haven't looked for the problem, but the front end on my trx4 has always had an issue with going down all the way. It will not set the shocks. See, watch, when I hit right here, I don't know if we even get in the view, but it bottoms out right there. And now I can go left or right more because the shocks are not bottom. And I finally found it's my panhard bar is hitting on the top. Let's see, hold on a second, sorry. This top Y link right here, as it comes down, it's actually hitting the panhard bar right there, boom. So I was sitting here going, wow. Now that I know what the problem is, do I adjust my whole axle? I would if I extend these ones here out a little, twist them, it would roll it forward and help that. But then I was like, well, if I could just put a spacer behind the panhard, because again, let me just show you before I do that. It's going to right there, and that's it. And then it can go more teeter-tottering. So what I did at first, I just took the screw loose to see if that was or wasn't the issue. So I pulled it out just a little bit, and then the rod came out some, and boom, it went all the way down. Compressed both shocks. So all we're going to do, the reason I'm bringing this up in case you might have had a similar problem, right here where the panhard bar mounts, I'm just going to put a small spacer behind it. If I can find one, a couple washers, or I should have a spacer that long. Just make sure your screw is long enough to still catch plenty of thread. The reason I'm doing the spacer is because I think there was one in this box. Well, let me put a little more light in this garage. That's better. So now, what we had to do, where did I just put my dang screw? Oh. What we did, we took this screw out of the pan hard bar. We got us a longer one. We're putting this shock washer right behind the pan hard bar. That will give me enough to make it not hit. At least that's my plan. Well, man, I'm actually excited about this shocks being tuned the way they are right now, because it's night and day from what it was. I hate the lifted truck. I didn't like the back sitting lower, which now it's a little more even. The front is still a little bit taller for whatever reason. You can't really adjust these like you would a regular shock. All you can do is put a different internal spring or stretch the spring, stuff like that. But my thing is, this truck has been so long with issues up front, for me to be able to go full compression on my shocks all the way down is awesome. I haven't been able to do that in a long time on this rig. I mean, and now they will bottom out. So, something I've just been overlooking. And I'm glad I figured it out, because my high trail does the same thing. I don't have very good, as far as if the truck is level across the front, it doesn't get much of this. And now it's doing great. The articulation from left to right and all that on the high trail is really good. But again, keeping the front end level and just doing like that, there's no movement almost on that truck like this was. So at least now I know where the problem is coming in. The way I put that washer behind it is not the correct solution though, because now when I turn the wheels all the way one way, it makes the rod get close to another area and it starts to mess with me in another spot. But that's only when they're fully cut. So it's still better. Another thing, if they had the oil in there to fill them, they actually go way better than like the axial shocks are up there. Look at there, it's a lot slower. It's not nothing like Desert Lizard, but way better. So at least we got that tuned in a little more, and we'll go from here.